In this video, we're going to go through the steps that's going to allow us to retain the ability to get to the internet with this virtual machine, while at the same time have a static IP address that we can refer to. So the first thing I'm going to do here is issue an ipconfig all command. And this is going to show that my computer has been issued an IP address from the DHCP server from this VMware workstation that places this computer on the 192.168.111.0 network. And hence in the fourth octet I've got the number 134. So this IP address is 192.168.111.134. So if I want to leave this computer so that it can still get to the internet, the easiest way to do that is to leave the VMware settings for my network adapter to be on NAT. That'll take care of using these private IP addresses and translating them into an IP address that the internet knows how to route. So that's one piece of the puzzle. We need to make sure that any IP address we assign to this network card is on the 192.168.111 network. Now what you see on your ipconfig all command will be different than what I have here. In particular, that third octet is the one you want to key on because we have a subnet mask here of 255.255.255.0. So the first three numbers of your four numbers of an IP address must be identical to what you're receiving from the VMware workstation. Next thing I want to point out is that my default gateway and my preferred DNS server is the same IP address. In this case, it's 192.168.111.2. Now, when we assign a static address to this network card, we're going to want to keep those settings. So just jot down those numbers of 192.168, and in my case it's 111.2, but again, in your case, that third octet is going to be a different number. Okay. So we'll do a CLS here to give us a little more real estate, and I'll do a CD backslash to give us a little more room in our command prompt, so hoping that these long commands are going to fit on one line. So our intent here is to give this a static IP address. Now if I just do an ipconfig, just as a reminder, I need to take a look at my Ethernet adapter's name, and in my case it's Ethernet 0. So yours is probably also going to be Ethernet 0, but if it's not, you need to you'll need to replace your name of your adapter with, or the Ethernet 0 that I'm typing in, with the name of your adapter. So I'm going to use a netsh command to assign an IP address. That's netsh interface IPv4. We're going to set an address for Ethernet 0. It's going to be a static address, and I'm going to give this an address of 192.168.111.10. It's going to have a mask of 255.255.255.0. I put a space there, and now I give it the IP address of the default gateway, which in our case here was 192.168.111.2. Next thing I want to do is I want to set up my DNS settings. Now this box is going to be a domain controller, and as such it's going to be running DNS. So what I want to do now is I want to set my DNS server for Ethernet 0, and I want it to be a static assignment rather than one that receives from the DHCP server running on the VMware workstation. So it's going to be static, and I'm going to have this box point to itself for DNS name resolution. And this is going to be the primary DNS server. Now, you'll get a little error message here, what looks like an error message, but don't be concerned about it. The fact of the matter is we have yet to promote this box to become a domain controller, and that's the reason why it's getting that. But we do want this IP address to be first in our list of DNS servers to be queried for any name resolution. Now, in order to get to the internet, we need to provide a second DNS server that's going to allow the box, whenever it tries to resolve, let's say, www.google.com to an IP address, it's going to work. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to backspace, and we're not going to set a DNS server this time around. We're going to add a DNS server, or if you feel like it, DNS servers for Ethernet 0. And you just type in the IP address of the DNS server that we were getting from our VMware workstation. Now let's test the connectivity of this box to the internet. So the first thing I'll do is I'll ping an IP address that's on the internet and see if we get a reply. And we're successful there. Now I'm going to ping a fully qualified domain name of a web server that's on the internet and see if it resolves that www.google.com to an IP address, and then let's see if the ICMP echo gets a reply. And you can see we're getting out. So we're all good to go on this DC1 box.